okay,
Cool.
now we just have to have people because of marketing and their intention, and they're not as talented, and we're not putting the best team out there.
They do not have to rush Caitlin being on the Olympic team.
Yep. Stephen A., I could actually argue that it hurts the game more if they had given her a roster spot over someone more deserving.
Go ahead and argue it.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because
go
I
ahead,
think it makes a mockery
Okay.
of the women's game.
Yeah. It's crickets.
No
What's up?
one
What's
denied
up?
the fact that she's a star and she couldn't play. It was just that it takes.
Y'all
a
were
full
denying it, Molly. Don't
team,
do that.
And there's
Don't do
other
that, Molly.
Shannon Sharpe just set the TV on fire defending Caitlin Clark. You won't believe what he said that almost made Molly Qerim cry. Is this the biggest drama in women's basketball right now? Let's talk about what went down. So here's the deal. Caitlin Clark's Olympic team selection is causing a huge stir. Everyone's arguing about whether she should be on the team or not. It's like a battle between talent and marketing, and it's getting intense. Imagine this. Shannon Sharpe goes all in, defending Clark like she's his own daughter. He's fired up, talking about how she's changing the game. Meanwhile, Molly Qerim looks like she's about to burst into tears. It's that serious. This isn't just about Clark, it's about the future of women's basketball. Who gets recognized, who gets the spotlight? It's a big deal, and everyone's taking sides. You know what's crazier? This debate could change everything for women's, and just when you thought the debate couldn't get any hotter, Shannon Sharpe stepped in with a take so hot it nearly melted the cameras. Is he right about Caitlin Clark being box office? Or is there more to this story than meets the eye? This isn't just about one player anymore. It's turned into a full-blown showdown between talent and marketing in women's sports.
What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. I would be remiss if I didn't say this. A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her?
Shannon Sharpe came out swinging, defending Caitlin Clark like she's the future of basketball. But not everyone's buying it. Sharpe hit hard, saying that putting marketing over talent makes a mockery of the women's game. He's not pulling any punches here. It's like he's fighting for the soul of women's basketball. But here's where it gets tricky. Andrea Carter's got a different take. She's not so sure about Clark being on the Olympic team. So we've got Sharpe in one corner saying Clark deserves her spot based on pure skill. In the other corner, Carter's wondering if Clark's WNBA game will translate to Olympic success. It's like watching two titans clash over the future of women's sports. This whole debate is shining a light on a bigger issue in women's sports.
Or Lisa Leslie, or Lauren Jackson, or Diana Taurasi, or Simone Augustus, or any of the other great players. That Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done. But there's a lot of people trying to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place, because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. You can't minimize what Maya Moore or Candace Parker.
It's not just about Clark anymore. It's about how we recognize talent. Do we go for the players who can sell tickets and jerseys, or do we focus on pure skill no matter what? Sharpe's not having any of the marketing talk. He dropped a bombshell saying Caitlin Clark is box office. He's talking about how she's bringing in the crowds and selling merch like crazy. It's hard to argue with those dollar signs. But it's not just about the money for Sharpe. He's fired up about recognizing talent for what it is. He's saying that giving Clark her props doesn't take anything away from legends like Lisa Leslie or Diana Taurasi. It's like he's trying to make room for the past and the future at the same time.
But we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard.
This whole thing is getting people emotional. It's not just about one player or one team. It's about what women's sports could be. Should we focus on building stars that can sell tickets, or should it be all about the game? Just when you thought the Caitlin Clark drama couldn't get any more intense, it exploded right there on live TV. How did a discussion about Olympic basketball turn into a near tearful confrontation between Shannon Sharpe and Molly Qerim? Their face-off revealed much more than just differing opinions on player stats. The studio felt like a pressure cooker as Sharpe and Qerim went head-to-head over Caitlin Clark's Olympic team potential. Qerim wasn't backing down, arguing that Clark's WNBA performance doesn't automatically mean she'll shine at the Olympic level. It's like she was trying to pump the brakes on the Clark hype train. But Sharpe wasn't having any of it. He came back swinging, throwing Clark's impressive stats like punches in a boxing match. You could almost see the numbers flying across the studio. It was like watching two titans of sports commentary clash over the future of women's basketball. The tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Qerim looked like she was on the verge of tears, not because she was sad, but because she was so invested in this debate. It's crazy how a discussion about one player could get so emotional, right? This wasn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. It was about the whole direction of women's basketball. Should Olympic spots go to proven veterans or rising stars? Is raw talent enough, or does experience trump potential? These are the questions that had Sharpe and Qerim fired up. You know what's wild? This heated moment shows just how passionate people are about women's basketball. It's not just a game anymore. It's about respect, recognition, and the future of the sport. Sharpe and Qerim's clash is like a microcosm of the bigger debates happening all over the sports world. And let's be real, this kind of intensity is exactly what women's basketball needs. When was the last time you saw people getting this worked up over a WNBA player's Olympic prospects? It's like Caitlin Clark has become a lightning rod for all these bigger issues in women's sports. You know what's wild? While everyone's focused on Caitlin Clark, there's a whole other game being played behind the scenes. It's not about points or assists anymore. It's about respect, recognition, and the future of women's basketball. Are we watching a revolution unfold on live TV? Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith aren't just defending Clark, they're fighting for the soul of women's basketball. They're saying it's time to recognize talent for what it is, not just who can sell the most tickets. It's like they're trying to rewrite the rules of the game off the court. But here's where it gets crazy. Some people are saying all this criticism of Clark is just jealousy. Can you believe it? Former players and analysts feeling threatened by a rookie? It's like they're scared she's going to steal their spotlight or something. This whole thing is exposing some serious issues in women's sports. It's not just about who makes the Olympic team anymore. It's about how we value women athletes. Do we go for the players who can fill seats, or do we focus on pure skill? It's a tough call, and it's got everyone fired up. Sharpe and Smith dropped a bombshell when they said Clark on the Olympic team could lift up the entire league. They're talking about a rising tide lifts all boats kind of situation. Imagine that, one player changing the game for everyone. That's how big this could be, but it's not just about Clark anymore. This fight is for every woman who's ever been told she's not marketable enough, not experienced enough, or just not enough. It's about breaking down those old ideas that have been holding women's sports back. Think about it. When was the last time you saw people get this worked up over women's basketball? It's like Clark has become a symbol for something much bigger. She's not just playing for herself anymore. She's playing for the future of the sport. This debate is shining a light on all the struggles women athletes face. It's not just about getting on the team, it's about getting respect, getting support, and getting the recognition they deserve. And Sharpe and Smith are right there on the front lines fighting for change. Caitlin Clark's Olympic team drama is shaking up women's basketball like never before. It's not just about one player anymore, it's about the whole future of the sport. Shannon Sharpe's fired up defense of Clark is making waves, and it's got everyone talking. This controversy is raising some big questions. How do we decide who gets to represent Team USA? Is it all about talent, or does marketing play a role? And here's a wild thought. Could this debate actually change how we view women's sports? Sharpe hit the nail on the head when he said, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. It's time to support these incredible athletes based on their skills, not just their star power. So what do you think? Is it time for a change in women's basketball? Let's keep this conversation going.